Boebert tried very hard to justify her crusade against the separation of church and state, something that, Constitution mentions, pretty important, freedom of religion, but also freedom from religion. The government should not be endorsing or sponsoring any specific religion. Doesn't like that. So she's trying to kind of explain where she's coming from. Let's see if she does herself any favors here.
We were founded on these Judeo-Christian values, and we've just got so far away from that. And then, Jefferson with his separation of church and state, that's not in the Constitution. That frustrates me so badly. That's a letter. That was a letter. And Democrats ignorantly say this is in the Constitution, separation of church and state. And they don't know what it means. And they think that means you can't talk about God. Well, if there really is this separation of church and state like they believe it means, well, then what is Ilhan doing with her Hijab on? I mean, why is she able to go in there with that? I mean, why aren't they shouting that from the rooftops, separation of church and state?
That's stupid in so many directions all simultaneously. That, first of all, progressives or liberals or whoever don't say that.
No, the country's gonna collapse.
It doesn't mean that
I
don't
get it. Like, why is she wearing her hijab?
She didn't even say it right.
No, of course.
She's only heard it 1,000 times in her life, but she can't say it right. That's the least of her problems here. Like literally the least of her problems. Yeah, you're allowed to wear clothing. You can wear clothing. That's not what that means, literally at all.
Members of Congress can wear articles of clothing that have a connection to their faith, to their religious belief. You can wear your crucifix.
It doesn't even have to have a connection to your. It could be a cultural thing. Like
it could be a cultural thing.
It doesn't even mean. She has no idea about anything. Literally anything. Stop electing idiots.
Lauren, let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. Let me explain it. I'll talk slowly. We do have religious liberty in this country. The point of the separation of church and state is to ensure that the state, meaning the government, doesn't force a particular religion onto others, because we live in this country that has people of all different backgrounds, all different religions. And so it would be weird to, on one hand, refer to this country as one that values freedom and liberty, and then on the other hand, be a theocracy that forces one particular religious doctrine on all of its citizens. You see what I'm saying? So wearing a hijab or hijab, as you would say, or wearing a crucifix on your necklace, whatever you want to do, that's okay. It becomes a problem when the government, let's say, passes legislation that forces all of us to wear a hijab, or forces all of us to wear a crucifix, or forces all of us to go to Bible study, whatever. By the way, what would the country's religion be? She says Judeo-Christian, which is hilarious because you guys don't care about Jews. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
Okay. What does Judeo-Christian really mean? And what are Christians like you hoping happens, in the end with the Jewish population?
Yeah.
Like we know.
No, Judeo-Christian's not about including Jewish people in it. It's about excluding anything other than those two.
Exactly.
It's why they get so mad about happy holidays. It's not enough for them to be included. They really want to exclude other people from it. First of all, we can do this. It's in our nature to look for actual values, standards, principles, and try to see what our principles are. Let's be clear, there aren't any. She believes that they can, by either virtue of the number of Christians in this country or the fact that our political system is so warped that they can have a supermajority in the Supreme Court without that being reflective of what people want, that they can just make it so that Christianity is in charge. It is not about, you're allowed to have religion. I believe that. And so right now there's a lot of Christians, so I guess we're Judeo-Christian. But if someday the country was 80% Hindu, then I guess the US government would operate under principles of Hinduism. There's no principle there. She just wants her religion in charge so that she can suppress people who are not a part of that religion.
She loves freedom.
That's it.
She loves freedom. That's what freedom looks like. And by the way,
she loves supremacy of groups she's a part of. That's
right.
It. That's the only principle.
So she hates this country. Let's be clear. She hates the Constitution. She hates what this country's, the idea of America, she hates it, because the idea of America is liberty, is freedom, right? How are you going to support that idea by forcing whatever your religious doctrine is on everyone else? By the way, your husband showed an underage waitress his penis. Okay, sit down. How about that? Sit down. These people are running around moralizing about how other people live their lives. Your husband whipped his out and showed it to a 17-year-old waitress. Sit down. I get it. You were a bad girl, been arrested a few times yourself. And these are the most dangerous people in the country. Let me just be clear about that. Because what happens is they have a past that they're ashamed about. Then they find Jesus, and to overcompensate for the massive failures they were previously, and honestly continue to be in the case of Boebert, they decide to be the pious ones who go around judging everyone else, moralizing about whatever anyone else is doing as if they're the good ones. They have the moral high ground, right? You don't have moral high ground. She's a hateful, disgusting, anti-American human being that I have no respect for. And no, we don't live in a theocracy. As much as you want it, we're not gonna get it, because I will fight to the death to prevent that from happening. I'm not interested in living in a theocratic, authoritarian country that they like drool over. They're disgusting. By the way, Boebert's not the only one. Let's go to this compilation.
There is no separation of church and state. It's a fabrication, it's a fiction, it's not in the Constitution. It's made up by secular humanists.
What is happening now are traditional American values are being trashed as extreme, as outrageous. I mean, look, this is a country found on Judeo-Christian ethics, okay? This is in my courtroom, and most courtrooms in this country. They say, in God we trust. It's even on our money.
The reason we had so many overreaching regulations in our nation is because the church complied. The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does.
Go ahead, John.
So there's a couple of it. So first of all, it was in a stinking letter written by one of the people that you think when they contributed to the Constitution was divinely inspired. Suddenly some writing better than others. And by the way, that is not what the separation of church and state is about. You go into the Bill of Rights. You can't establish religion. And for a woman who in the first clip that you showed talked about all these libs think it's in the Constitution, but it's not, it's just in this letter. She goes on to cite stuff from the Declaration of Independence. And so the ignorance is all encompassing.
But does the ignorance even matter at this point, John? I mean, they have a Supreme Court set up with theocrats who want this country to be a theocracy.
No, the prohibition now against abortion, this is what they want. This is founded in their misconceptions about the Bible. It's not actually representative of what the Bible says, but they think it is, and they certainly like that the side effect is that a lot of people's rights are stripped away. That's what religion is for these people. You'll notice that when they come to Jesus, it never means that for the rest of their life they spend a lot of time looking inward and trying to make sure that they're better people. Why is it that she's so awful, so enthusiastically awful? Where is the compassion? One can read a bit about Jesus and you're supposed to come away with the idea that he was kind of a compassionate person. You don't see that. Not to say that some Christians don't. My grandfather, Pat, he was a liberal Christian. And he believed in charity and understanding, empathy. There are lots of people who do that.
Lots of great Christians in
but
this
the
country,
people who talk the most about their religion, especially when they're running for office, that is not what their religion is about. Their religion is a card that's supposed to demonstrate that they're better than you by definition, never by action. The actions are irrelevant now. They've got the card. They can stand next to a priest or something. Look, they also need to understand that while they have that advantage in the Supreme Court, they also on some level know that this is not popular. It's one of the reasons why they're not actively talking as much about trying to outlaw abortion nationally. Only 12% of the country actually wants that. They want to deliver for their base, which gets them through Republican primaries, this theocratic state, but they know that that's not a path to winning presidential elections or anything like that.
Yeah, and look, I just want to make one final comment. That was an excellent rant. Agree with everything you just said there. But in that compilation that we showed you, Janine Pirro's like, well, why are our values considered extremist? Yeah, it's extremist when we have a Supreme Court justice musing about whether or not married couples are having anal sex and whether or not we should allow states to ban it. It's extremist.
That's extremist.
That is extremist, you weirdo drunk. It is extremist, okay? It is extremist when you have the government getting in between a woman and her doctor. That is extremist. In fact, they used to think that was extremist when they would use that talking point inaccurately when it came to the Affordable Care Act. They thought it was super extremist, right? It's amazing, man. These people are disgusting. They hate this country, they hate freedom, and they want to control everything we do. Everything we do. The only time they're actually legitimate, and not legitimate, but being sincere about small government is when it comes to the wealthiest people and the biggest corporations in this country robbing us blind. That's when they want no government intervention. They don't want the government to protect you from anything, but they do want the government to do away with your liberty, including what you do in the confines of your own home with your own partner. They hate this country, they hate freedom, they want to control you, and I think that's pretty extremist.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.